The Millionaire's baby scream revealed a surprising connection with SHY Waitress and INCREDIB. On a bustling Saturday morning, the diner buzzed with energy. The sizzle of bacon on the griddle and the rich aroma of fresh coffee hung heavily in the air. Lily dashed between tables, her smile pinned in place like a badge, even as her heart raced with every order she juggled. Outside those quick interactions, she longed for something more, a life that sparkled beyond the confines of her cramped studio apartment. The daily grind had become a chore, but her past anchored her in safety, making every step toward change feel perilous. Suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the chatter. A wealthy patron in a tailored suit, holding a newborn, looked frazzled. Heads turned, discomfort rippling through the crowd. Instead of retreating like the others, Lily's instincts flared. She rushed towards the sound, her heart thumping with urgency. She knelt by the table, her voice soft, coaxing the baby's cries into a gentle coo. The little one responded, big eyes locking onto her, and in that moment, Lily glimpsed a fleeting connection to the love she had once known, the way a mother's warmth enveloped her, now a tender memory. As the millionaire calmed, his interest peaked. He struck up a conversation, and Lily found herself pouring out the chapters of her life story, years of struggling, the strength of her diner family through childhood storms. You have a spark, he said, his eyes glimmering with opportunity. He offered her a mentorship, a chance to step into a world of innovation far beyond the grease-stained tables, igniting a flicker of hope buried under layers of doubt, but a heavy weight settled in her stomach as reality crashed back. His business partner, a man shrouded in arrogance and contempt for those he deemed inferior, dismissed the idea of a waitress infiltrating their elite world. Even the mere suggestion of Lily mingling with the upper echelon felt impossible, igniting her insecurities and the whispers of inferiority that haunted her. Could she belong among the cutthroat? Could she shed the shackles of her past? As days turned into weeks, Lily sat at a crossroads. Loyalty battled ambition as she flipped pancakes in the diner that had nurtured her, while the new opportunity glimmered just out of reach. She began to question everything: her worth, her instincts, wondering if a girl like her could fight through the challenges of this elite environment. The whispers of unethical practices from the business partner gnawed at her consciousness, stirring a storm of conflict within. Exposing him could restore her dignity, but at what cost? And what would she lose in the process? In the ensuing turmoil, she braced for a fateful dinner meeting, a moment where integrity would collide with her desperation to ascend the ranks she believed were entirely out of her grasp. Every heartbeat echoed in her chest as fear and ambition wrestled mercilessly. Just as she gathered the courage to confront this moral dilemma, the partner revealed a shocking truth that stilled her breath and twisted her gut. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lily stood frozen, heart racing with uncertainty, questions whirling in her mind. Had she misjudged everything? The echoes of the baby's harmless cries faded as the weight of the moment pressed heavily on her shoulders. The diner, filled with flickering chatter and sizzling griddles, felt claustrophobic, leaving her at the edge of a life-altering decision that may strip away every safety net she clung to. Would she cling desperately to the familiarity of her past, or plunge into the unknown for a chance at a brighter future? The tension hung thick, unfurling possibilities, as she readied herself to confront the abyss. Lily's mind reeled as the partner's words hung in the air like a dark cloud. The revelation stirred a tempest within her, the currents of fear and determination swirling chaotically. How could he possibly know such personal details about her life? He leaned back, a smirk curling his lips, clearly relishing the hold he had over her. It was a power play, designed to expose her vulnerabilities and render her impotent in this high-stakes game. Her pulse quickened, and she could feel the weight of every gaze in the diner focused on her. The familiarity of the greasy countertop and the cheerful chatter had turned into a cage, each patron a spectator of her impending break. But amidst the clamoring uncertainty, a flicker of defiance ignited inside her. She refused to be a pawn. The thought of the wealth juxtaposed against her waitress uniform, the disdain dripping from his tone, it was more than enough incentive for her to consider taking a stand. Lily excused herself, the sound of her footsteps drowned out by the restaurant's hum. Every step echoed her internal conflict, the comforts of her life in the diner battled against the possibility of ambition. She hadn't climbed the social ladder just to be shoved back down by someone who deemed themselves superior. In moments of solitude, tucked behind a fridge and a wall of kitchen equipment, she retreated into her thoughts. What was it that she wanted? To crawl back into the safety of her routine, or to break free from the chains of her past? Images of her childhood flashed through her mind, moments where every struggle felt like a lesson, a building block for resilience. The kitchen of the diner was where she learned empathy and grit. It was that very same environment, laden with grease and laughter, that had shaped her. Taking a deep breath, Lily resolved to confront the business partner head-on. She navigated through the bustling afternoon crowd, determination solidifying her stance as she re-entered the dining area. Every heartbeat thundered in her ears. As she approached the table, her voice steadied, stripping away the cloud of doubt that threatened to suffocate her. "I won't be intimidated," she declared, locking eyes with him, feeling the adrenaline surge through her system. "If you think you can use my past against me, you're mistaken. I'm more than a waitress. I have dreams, and I'm willing to fight for them." The business partner's expression darkened, the smirk fading from his face. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as if weighing the implications of her defiance. "You think this is a game? You're in way over your head." "I think you underestimate me," she replied, refusing to break eye contact. The moment expanded, a charged silence weaving between them as she stood her ground. It felt exhilarating, this confrontation. With every word, Lily felt her old self timid, unsure, dismantling like a house of cards in a gust of wind. Could this newfound boldness be the catalyst for something extraordinary? A thought blossomed in her mind. This was more than just a fight for her place among the elite, it was a reclamation of her identity. As the business partner smirked, she gathered momentum, preparing to share everything she knew. With a surge of confidence, she began piecing together a plan. Here was her chance to expose his manipulations. A sense of clarity surged within her. She would leverage his arrogance against him, using her insight into the mechanisms of his deception. Her heart raced with apprehension, but something else pulsed below the surface: determination. This was a turning point, a moment steeped not just in survival but in resilience. Little did she know, another twist awaited her within the duplicity that led those in power. The meeting shouldn't have just been about confrontation. It should unleash opportunities. Would she step forward, deeper into the intrigue? Would the shadows envelop her, or would she carve an illuminating path toward the light of her aspirations? In the midst of it all, she felt an unexpected surge of hope. Out of the chaos could emerge the very change she sought. What would her next step be? Would she dare to escalate her confrontation and uncover the mysteries lurking in the shadows surrounding the business? The atmosphere felt electric as Lily steadied herself to unveil the secrets swirling around the business partner. This was no longer just about her. The stakes had intensified, demanding her to evolve from uncertainty and self-doubt into someone who could stand her ground, define her ambitions, and harness them as her own. The realization surged within her as she readied her approach, her thoughts snapping into focus like the pieces of a puzzle falling into place. What information did she possess that could turn the tide? She had worked tirelessly, gathering bits and pieces of the partner's dealings, his questionable alliances cloaked by his polished exterior. The diner's regulars had dropped snippets of gossip over coffee. It had always seemed mundane, but Lily knew better now. Each anecdote was a thread to pull on, unraveling a tapestry of deception barely hidden beneath his charm. "Let's cut to the chase," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. "You might think you wield that information as a sword, but I am no longer the girl who hides from the past." With each syllable, she crafted an image of empowerment. Simultaneously, a wash of vulnerability swept through her as she recognized what lay at stake. She wasn't opposing just a man, she was challenging everything she had known about herself. The partner leaned back, attempting to regain his composure, but Lily wasn't going to let him dictate the tempo of the conversation. Instead, she decided to shift her approach. "What I've learned from you, is that people often confuse fear with strength, like you seem to." His brow furrowed, and she could see the wheels turning in his mind, assessing if she had stumbled into arrogance or if she had genuinely found her footing. "I know all about the hidden transactions," she pressed on, even as doubt crept in. "Those schemes you're running your reputation isn't as untouchable as you think. And trust me, more than a few people in this city would love to know about them." His smirk faded momentarily, and the tension thickened. Those words had opened a window of opportunity for her, igniting fresh determination. Now was not the time to falter, she had to push forward, expand on her lead. She held his gaze, her thoughts racing. This wasn't merely a confrontation. It was her chance to turn the tables entirely. As he shifted in his seat, preparing to retort, she seized the moment to bolster her own confidence. She envisioned herself breaking the cycle of fear and manipulation, replacing it with clarity and purpose. "I'm not asking for your approval or your permission," she asserted, speaking directly to his underestimation of her ambition. "What I'm saying is, I'm ready to play this game on my terms. Either you help me help you, or I leverage what I know, and it's your turn to feel threatened." The emotion swirling through her was intoxicating, overwhelming her senses but also igniting a fierce sense of agency. Each word felt like a declaration of independence, the audacity to stake a claim on her future. In that moment of self-discovery, amidst the liabilities of their confrontation, she understood the weight behind her dreams was not solely dependent on ambition but on the courage to face those who would bury her under their own insecurities. Just as she prepared to delve deeper into her strategy, breathing purpose into her defiance, her phone buzzed in her pocket. The shift in her focus momentarily distracted her, but her resolve remained. She pulled it out, her heart racing as she recognized the name on the screen. A contact she hadn't anticipated reaching out to, possibly offering insights that would propel her steps further into the intricacies of the game. Would this connection aid her in her confrontation or lead her further into the web of deceit she was attempting to unravel? Questions swirled in her mind as she shifted her gaze from the phone back to the business partner's inscrutable expression. The stakes had transformed. What had been an act of defiance was now swathed in a hesitant hope for redemption, a chance to reclaim her narrative and wield her story like a weapon. What secrets now lay at her fingertips? Would the unexpected ally offer the missing thread in her quest to topple the very architecture of deceit hiding behind that charming facade? Lily's heart raced as she looked back at the business partner, wrestling with her decision to answer the call. The familiar name on the screen represented both risk and possibility, a reminder of her past connections that now seemed to breathe with new significance. The conversation at hand felt like a pivotal moment, one that could either consolidate her power or unravel her carefully constructed facade. "Excuse me for a moment," she murmured, maintaining her gaze on him, her voice steady despite the chaos inside. As she swiped to answer the call, the partner's eyes narrowed, a flicker of challenge passing across his features. "Lily," the voice on the other end chimed, a mixture of warmth and tension. "It's been a while. I heard you were diving into some deep waters. Who told you?" she questioned, partially taken aback but intrigued. A familiar voice from her past brought memories flooding back, but she focused on what mattered: the present. "Does it matter? What I know is that you're in a bind, and I might be able to help," came the answer, confident and sly. "I'm fine," she lied, reminding herself of her new resolve. The tension of this encounter surged around her, laced with urgency. She didn't have time for distractions, even ones offering salvation. "Yet listen, I've been watching your progress," the voice continued, as if sensing her hesitation. "Your tenacity is commendable, but you're playing a dangerous game. You need more than just courage, you need strategy. I know things that could turn the tide in your favor." Lily felt a swirl of emotions, pulling her into the possibility of alliances she had never considered. With every passing second, her mind raced to weigh the potential benefits against the risk of dragging herself back into a connection that could cost her everything she had fought for. But was the allure of strategic advantage too great to ignore? As she looked across the table at her partner, whose mask of confidence was beginning to slip, she made her decision. "What do you know?" she demanded, a blend of curiosity and authority coloring her tone. "I know about the transactions and the people involved. I can give you names, outlines of their operations. But it comes with a price." "Everything does," she replied without missing a beat. Here was an opportunity, a chance to gain insight, crucial information that could shift this precarious standoff in her favor. "What kind of price?" "I need assurance that I can trust you. Once you begin this journey, there's no turning back. If you want my help, you must be prepared to take risks. For all I've been through." She shot back, frustrated but intrigued. "You want to put me through more?" "Exactly. But you'll have the knowledge to do what you want with it. Leverage it, manipulate your partner whatever you choose. But remember, trust comes at a cost, especially in this line of work." The very nerves that had once paralyzed her now crackled with energy, forming a new sense of urgency. What had begun as a confrontation had morphed into an opportunity, a revelation. She could reshape her strategy, leverage new information, and confront the darkness she had been battling against. As she leaned forward, decisively cutting off her call, she locked eyes with the partner once more. "All right, here's the deal. You need to understand that not only can I defend my position, but I can also harness the elements I have now to expose others. Let's see how you handle that." The intensity shifted palpably. The partner, once controlling the narrative, now seemed on the back foot, uncertainty shadowing his confidence. She could see it in the tightness of his jaw, the way the color drained just slightly from his face. She was unsettling him. The call had given her an unexpected edge, but it also created a rift, which she might not be able to traverse alone. She had a choice: to trust her newfound ally and exploit the knowledge she could potentially gain, or to retreat under the pressure of fear and hesitation. In chasing power, would she inadvertently release a force she couldn't control? Her heart thumped. In response, a blend of fear and exhilaration pulsating through her. What had once been a straightforward confrontation was now layered with complex strategy, alliances, and the potential for betrayal. The stakes were rising. Her next decision could either solidify her position at the forefront or crash her dreams into irretrievable chaos. As she walked alongside her partner, a thought loomed in her mind, heavy with foreboding. The game had truly begun, and the next move would be hers to make. What awaited her around the corner? Would she seamlessly blend trust and cunning, or might she take a misstep into the abyss that had threatened her for so long? The air in the boardroom crackled with unspoken tension as Lily turned her attention back to her partner. He was repositioning himself, attempting to reclaim control, but she sensed his unease swaying to the rhythm of her newfound resolve. This wasn't to be a simple negotiation, it was a declaration of ownership over her own narrative. "I need you to understand," she started, locking her gaze with his, "that I will not back down. You can either adapt alongside me or be left behind." The words tasted foreign and yet empowering on her lips. A small crack of confidence had opened wider, fueled by the call she had just ended, and she was ready to explore the possibilities. Her partner's brow furrowed, revealing a flicker of doubt. "You think you have the upper hand? You're just an employee on the verge of becoming a partner." The interruption rolled off her tongue with unexpected authority. "Your position does not give you ownership over my ambitions." As she spoke, she realized she was growing into a role she had long aspired to, a leader unafraid to wrestle with the chaos of collaboration and competition intermingled. She watched him closely, absorbing details of his body language, the slight retreat of his shoulders, the way he pinched his lips together as if trapping words he dared not voice. She calculated her next move, aware that his uncertainty could shift into aggression if she misstepped. "Let's talk strategy," she continued, pivoting the conversation. "We both know the landscape here is shifting. If we can harness the new information I just acquired and create a facade around it, we can guide the narrative and outmaneuver our competitors. This isn't just about you or me. This is about securing a future. He hesitated, searching her face for any sign of hesitation, but she held her ground. In that moment, awareness dawned. Her potential partnership with her old contact could furnish her with critical leverage information that would never be freely given. Define future, he said, a challenging edge creeping into his tone. What do you really want? I want equity, real influence over decisions, not just the scraps thrown my way as an employee. Imagine what we could build if we both claimed authority, instead of one constantly overshadowing the other. She felt the course of her personal and professional development pivot sharply. She was no longer merely reacting but actively orchestrating her pathway forward. He nodded slowly, yet she could see the gears grinding inside his head. Distrust lingered like a cloud, but she was fixated on planting the seeds of collaboration. It was a delicate dance, and she needed to lead. Drawing in a breath, she summoned her courage. Let us expose the weaknesses too. Identify who stands in our way and what information we can use against them. There's power in the truth, and we can reshape the narrative. The prospect of diving into the fray alongside him charged her pulse. The fear of losing control morphed into a willingness to embrace the chaos. She couldn't just survive, it was time to thrive. What once felt ominous was now an invitation to explore the depth of her capabilities. She was more than just crafty, she was resourceful, perceptive. Each conversation was a chance to mold the outcome in her favor. However, just as clarity crystallized in her mind, a disquieting thought slinked into view: trust was a fragile commodity. Her old ally's motives remained obscured, and diving deeper into this alliance could expose her to betrayals buried within layers of affection. Let us set up a meeting with our new contacts. I'll arrange it and have them reviewed by 2 of our top analysts. Get the ball rolling, Lily declared, urgency lacing her voice. As she left the boardroom, determination lit her path. Every decision would count now, a step toward a future she was weaving with her hands, but hidden beneath the surface of her triumph, a voice echoed: was she ready to navigate the treacherous waters of trust and manipulation? The chain of past connections and newfound alliances twisted precariously, urging her to consider the facade she was building could draft her into a perilous game, a gamble she might not be prepared for. What awaited as she inched closer to forging this new bond, and would the journey reshape her into the architect of her destiny or unravel everything she had worked tirelessly to create? The answer loomed as she stepped out into the bustling world outside, filled with uncertainty and promise. With the sun setting on the horizon, casting an amber glow over the city, Lily found herself seated at her favorite café, a stark contrast to the corporate world she had just exited. The clamor of coffee machines mixed with soft chatter, a haven where she could reflect on the day's events. Being alone with her thoughts, she sifted through the aftermath of the boardroom confrontation. The adrenaline was still coursing through her veins, but as she sipped her latte, reality sunk in. She had crossed a threshold, and there was no turning back. Her mind danced through possibilities: the meeting she needed to arrange, the coalition of information she could form, and how to bind herself to her partner without losing autonomy. The concept of collaboration had shifted. It was no longer about compromise but about building a resonance, each note contributing to a harmonious future. The challenge was infusing her voice into a collective without sacrificing the strength of her individual aspirations. As she perused through her notes on potential contacts, something remarkable caught her attention. Her cell buzzed with a message from the very ally she sought to incorporate into her strategy. It wasn't merely an invitation, it was an opportunity to re-engage with her past, a reminder of her journey and the relationships that had once forged her identity as a professional. Yet, a conflict emerged. The thrill of reconnecting was countered by the unease of past grievances. Memories surfaced of her initial struggles, a shy intern trapped under a weight of expectations, timid in meetings, her voice a whisper easily lost in the din of stronger personalities. The person she was now felt almost like a stranger to the version of herself that had endured. Would this new opportunity offer a pathway to further her ambitions or pull her back into the shadows of her former self, a person who had once been content to let others dominate the conversation? It was time to confront that fear and redefine her space at the table. Compelled by this revelation, she allowed herself a moment of vulnerability, acknowledging that while she had progressed, the shadows still lingered. What had changed was her approach. she could now navigate the waters of uncertainty with more skill. The thought of building something substantial alongside her former contacts ignited a fire within her. She could create a network of allies instead of merely seeking approval. Determination unfurled as she adjusted her laptop screen, diving deeper into strategic plans for the new meeting. This was beyond just tactics, it was about crafting narratives, re-empowering voices her voice. But uncertainty continued to swirl in her gut. Perhaps this venture could lead to a resurgence of old dynamics. She had witnessed how quickly trust could shift to manipulation. Could she maintain her newfound courage and assert herself in the face of old fears? The clock ticked on, each passing moment intensifying the urgency of her need for clarity. She could sense the crescendo of her unfolding path, yet another layer of doubt began to peel away the certainty she felt. What if the connections she yearned to cultivate were entangled with motives she couldn't decipher? As she clicked send on her arrangements for the meeting, her heart raced. This was not merely a strategic move, it was a leap into the unknown, a dare to confront her past while demanding her rightful place in the future. As she gathered her things and stood to leave, the weight of both excitement and dread crept in. Was her climb toward empowerment leading her to a solid foundation, or was it a precarious house of cards that could tumble at any moment? With each step toward the door, she felt the pull toward history and evolution intertwining. The next chapter loomed ahead, but would she emerge grounded in clarity or be swept into a whirlwind of rivalries and mischief as she confronted the intricacies of new alliances? The answer lingered just beyond her reach, drugging her mind with anticipation. The following day dawned, bringing a lingering determination that stitched Lily's heart closer to her ambitions. As she navigated the bustling streets toward the planned meeting, the mingling scents of fresh pastries and strong coffee fueled her resolve. She was no longer just a participant in this corporate game, she was ready to play a pivotal role. Arriving at the chosen venue, a sleek hotel conference room filled with polished mahogany tables and sleek glass displays, Lily couldn't ignore the familiar trepidation tightening her chest. The anticipation of reconnecting with allies bubbled beneath her surface, yet unease whispered tales of vulnerability. She recalled the intern who once allowed conversations to flow uncontested. Would she still falter upon encountering old colleagues? Seated at the long table awaited her former mentor, Gregory, who had once overseen her early career development. His reputation for sparking innovation was legendary, yet the flicker of rivalry in his eyes reminded her of the dynamics she wanted to disrupt. "Lily, it's been too long," he said, a practiced smile lighting his features. The warmth of his greeting barely masked the pinch of competition. "Indeed, Gregory. I appreciate you making the time," she replied, her voice steady. Inside, each word echoed a silent vow she intended to command the space she occupied. As discussions commenced, Lily observed how the group oscillated between harmony and tension. Seasoned professionals traded barbs masked as banter, hierarchical influences bubbling to the surface as heads leaned in and voices rose. It was a resemble of the boardroom from yesterday, a familiar landscape she now inhabited with cautious authority. Words flowed, ideas sparked, but something grew within her, an inkling to inject her vision into the conversation. Amidst the immaculate presentation slides and polished reports, she envisioned weaving her narrative, a story that encompassed both confidence and collaboration. When the moment presented itself, she engaged decisively, cutting through the pretenses. What if we consider a strategy that integrates our unique strengths rather than merely aligning with past practices? The room fell silent momentarily, a stillness that both terrified and exhilarated her. The familiarity of discomfort was present, yet this time it flared into an undeniable current of bravery. We could create a new paradigm, something that challenges the status quo instead of adhering to it. You think we can reinvent the wheel? Gregory retorted, skepticism heavy in his tone. Yet, his question revealed more than contempt, it underscored a challenge, one she was more than willing to confront. Why not? Lily responded, emboldened. Embracing innovation demands risk, and if we don't take it, we risk stagnation. The tide of discussion shifted, nods of agreement emerged from unexpected places around the table. Gregory's look wavered, his authority challenged. The skepticism began to peel, revealing a flicker of intrigue. They could sense her confidence rising, the old dynamics transforming into a potential partnership. As conversations advanced, Lily's pulse quickened. A tiny rebellion kindled inside her, a demand of self that had long lain dormant. This was not about earning acceptance, it was about seizing a narrative of her own. By the end of the meeting, a palpable shift marked the atmosphere. Only when she stepped out into the luminous hallway did it fully dawn on her she had planted her stake firmly within this realm. But with every action came the weight of uncharted responses. What groundwork had she unknowingly disturbed? Uncertainty festered. Would Gregory respond with newfound respect, or would he sow seeds of discord that would undermine her efforts? The sun shone brightly outside, illuminating her path ahead, yet shadows of doubt loomed. She had ignited a spark of change, but at what cost? A subtle vibration in her pocket interrupted her thoughts. Another message awaited, one that hinted at deeper connections and unforeseen consequences. The next phase of her journey seemed to beckon, but what revelations lurked within? As Lily stood in the hallway, the message buzzing in her pocket drew her thoughts away from the recent meeting. Her heart raced with anticipation, a reflection of both excitement and apprehension. She retrieved her phone, glancing briefly at the screen. It was from Felix, a former colleague, someone she had always appreciated for his insight and collaborative spirit. "Can we talk? I'm at the cafe down the street." "Urgent matter," the text read. With a curious mind and a tinge of anxiety, she headed toward the cafe. The bustle of people and the aroma of roasted coffee brought back memories of the many meetings and discussions that had crafted her early professional life. Yet today felt different. She was no longer just a participant. She had crossed a threshold, and with that, came new expectations and responsibilities. As she pushed through the cafe door, she caught sight of Felix. His demeanor was serious, starkly contrasting the usual camaraderie they had shared in the past. He waved her over, motioning for her to sit. "Lily," he began, his voice low, "I'm glad you came. We need to talk about what happened in the meeting." Unease fluttered in her stomach. Was it that bad? I wouldn't say bad, but unsettling. Gregory isn't pleased. You challenged him, and that has implications for all of us. Unfolding his concerns only deepened her resolve. Isn't that the point? If we keep playing safe, we'll never innovate. Felix leaned in closer, his eyes scanning the cafe as if checking for eavesdroppers. Lily, pushing for change is one thing. But crossing Gregory could endanger your career. The old guard doesn't take well to being challenged. You've ignited something. With each word, the weight of her actions settled heavily on her shoulders. The quest for transformation often came with unseen perils, and now, she felt the full force of it. What are you suggesting? That I back down? I'm suggesting you tread carefully. Influence is often about knowing the right moment to assert yourself. You may have the vision, but you need the support. The conversation stirred waves of contemplation within her. She had feared vulnerability stitching her to mediocrity, but now it seemed that her aspirations might pull her towards marginalization instead. Had she overstepped? Or was this merely a necessary risk in the pursuit of authenticity? Felix, I appreciate your concern, but if I don't stand firm in my beliefs, what is the point? A resolve hardened her tone. He sighed, the lines of concern deepening on his face. Just remember, Lily, a revolutionary needs to be strategic. It's not about backing down, it's about choosing your battles wisely. She left the cafe with his words echoing in her mind, weighing the implications of her recent actions against her desires for growth. Each step felt heavier than the last, and the bright sun outside didn't match the shadows creeping into her mind. Doubt mingled with determination as she considered her next move. Should she take Felix's advice and play it safe, or should she escalate her challenge by rallying support from the other attendees at the meeting? Restlessness settled within, igniting a spark of rebellion against caution. She yearned to reshape the culture that existed in her field, if not now, then when? As she passed by a storefront, her reflection caught her eye. She saw a woman emerging from the shadows of her past, standing tall, yet hesitant. The question loomed, Would she retreat into safety or step further into the light of uncertainty? Just then, another vibration in her pocket shattered her internal debate. Her pulse quickened as she recognized the name appearing on the screen. It was Gregory. "Lily, we need to talk," the message read. His tone was clear, the stakes were rising, and she understood what that meant. This confrontation could redefine everything she had fought for. With her heart pounding, she hesitated for just a moment, preparing herself not just for a conversation, but for a challenge that could set the course for her career. The moment of reckoning had arrived. The cafe buzzed around Lily, its usual noise amplifying her senses as she walked toward her office, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in autumn wind. What did Gregory want? The looming confrontation teased at her anxiety while igniting a spark of potential liberation. She had confronted him before, but this time felt layered with more implications of risk and opportunity. Sitting at her desk, she glanced at the vibrant artwork on her wall depicting a courageous figure scaling a mountain. At that moment, it felt like an unsettling reminder of the summit she was eager to reach, but the path appeared blocked by a thick fog of possible consequences. She picked up a pen, doodling patterns that reflected her internal struggle. Each swirl represented questions. How could she ensure innovation while being mindful of existing power structures? What balance could she strike between ambition and caution? Her phone chimed again, this time a reminder for her next meeting with the project team. Something inside her shifted. She realized this wasn't just about her battle with Gregory but a broader fight for change that could reshape their entire division. She had to harness this momentum, drawing on the support and ideas of her colleagues. Perhaps they could stand together, channeling their challenges into a constructive force. As the meeting commenced, her usual role as a participant shifted subtly. Instead of merely taking notes, she outlined her vision for the future of the project. With each point she made, the room grew more engaged. Eyes widened, and heads nodded as she laid the groundwork for a collaborative approach. It felt liberating to express her ideas freely, fueled by the collective energy in the room. Why not present these ideas to Gregory? Kyle, one of her teammates, suggested. His enthusiasm was infectious, igniting a spark within her. We might convince him to see our direction instead of just his. His words resonated, rekindling a fire deep within her. Perhaps what she needed was not merely to confront Gregory, but to invite him into a conversation, to blend their visions rather than clash. The notion of collaboration reframed the fight ahead into something different, an opportunity for dialogue rather than a showdown. Leaving the meeting, questions buzzed in her mind like a swarm of bees. How could she structure an approach that didn't directly threaten Gregory's authority but still asserted the necessary changes? She pondered over the dynamics of the male-dominated environment she was navigating. Would they be resistant to her rank or receptive to camaraderie? As she walked to her car later that day, her phone rang, startling her from deep thought. It was Felix again, surprise layering over the anxiety as she answered. "It sounds like you've thought about my advice," he said, his tone mixing curiosity with something deeper. "I have, and I've resolved to push forward, not just against Gregory, but any systemic limitations," she replied, her voice steady with newfound determination. "It can't be just me challenging, it has to be bigger." "I'll bring the team into this." Before she could finish, Felix interrupted, "Be careful, changing dynamics are destabilizing. It's not just about momentum, but stability as well." He was right. She felt a tiny crack of vulnerability exposing itself within her resolve, urging her to tread with calculated steps. Yet, fear was giving way to strategy. "We'll see how it unfolds. I believe this is a chance," she asserted. Still, uncertainty gnawed at the edges of her plans. Gregory's response was yet to materialize. She parked her car, stepping into her apartment, her mind a fusion of hope and apprehension. With a deep breath, she opened her laptop, drafting an email not just to Gregory but every team member she had met that day, inviting them to a brainstorming session aimed at harmonizing their goals with the looming expectations. As she pressed send, the unsettling anticipation mounted within her. There was a sense of exhilaration, but also fear of potential backlash. Her exploration had uncovered an Internal resource, the ability to unite and transform her surroundings. Suddenly, the thought of Gregory's impending response swelled within her like a tide, urging her to prepare herself for whatever repercussions lay ahead. Would he welcome her ideas or retaliate against her perceived insubordination? Standing at the crossroads of assertiveness and fear, Lily braced herself for the unfolding of her journey into the unknown. And just then, her phone buzzed once more. Gregory was replying. The weight of the moment prepped her for whatever the next chapter held, fueled by determination but wrapped in uncertainty. The challenge was just beginning. The morning sun streamed into Lily's office, illuminating the corners where shadows once lingered. It had been a month since she boldly asserted herself in that heated meeting with Gregory. The atmosphere around the office had shifted, whispers of innovation now filled the air, largely thanks to her myriad ideas and collaborative approaches. She had merged her vision with her colleagues, fostering a culture that embraced change rather than deferring to the rigidity of tradition. "Good morning, Lily," her colleague Jessica called as she entered with a stack of papers. "The management loved your proposal. They want to implement a pilot program next quarter." Her heart swelled with pride. This wasn't just a win for her, it was a victory for everyone who had rallied around her. She had proven that ideas could ascend through teamwork, rather than hierarchical silence. As her colleagues joined forces to create something groundbreaking, each person contributed their strengths, coalescing their ambitions into a single rallying cry. The concrete achievement felt surreal. The days of internal doubt had waned, replaced by a solid confidence. She had conquered the trepidation that once tethered her, allowing her authentic self to flourish in the bright light of opportunity. The recognition she received from her peers and superiors solidified her competence. Sitting down at her desk, she opened her laptop to review the planned presentation for the board meeting. This was her moment. It wasn't simply about flaunting her newfound authority, it was an opportunity to illustrate the power of collaboration. She had meticulously crafted the slides to succinctly capture every voice at the table, infusing respect and credibility into her narrative. Days prior, Lily met with Gregory again, this time not as an adversary, but as a co-architect of progress. He had still challenged her, but she felt wholly confident in her expertise. Their dialogues transformed from confrontations cloaked in skepticism to shared explorations fueled by insight. Their final exchange had been pivotal, redefining their relationship. "Your insights are valuable," he had admitted, "but remember that flexibility is essential in this industry. Let us see where this partnership leads us." Lily had emerged from that meeting with a renewed sense of direction, showcasing her ability to lead in tandem with others. The balance she struck painted her in a new light, not merely as a waitress with dreams, but as a recognized contributor within the corporate landscape. She had exhibited grit and tenacity, demonstrating that her dreams were not mere metaphorical sparks, but solid foundations upon which reality could be built. Walking confidently into the boardroom later that week, she prepared to present the pilot program. Heads turned as she navigated the table. "Thank you all for giving me the chance to present today. We've worked hard to develop a strategy that aligns with our collective goals." Her voice rang with assertiveness, drawing respectful engagement. The presentation unfolded seamlessly, each chart and anecdote intertwining the stories and strengths of her teammates. The subsequent applause was energizing, affirming her belief that she belonged at the table of innovation she had envisioned since day one. The acknowledgement came as she closed her laptop. She had earned the respect of her peers and established herself as a formidable player. She had accomplished more than she imagined when offered a mentorship weeks ago. Lily was no longer seen solely as a waitress. She had, through diligent effort and integrity, secured an established position in her career. As she drove home that evening, gratitude swelled within her. The day's events echoed blessings, relationships restored, and insights exchanged. Her journey was one of transformation, characterized by tenacity against opposition. She had ventured from doubt to clarity while embracing the complexities of empowerment. Most importantly, she had learned to wield her voice and ideas effectively, proving resilience as a tool for success. Now attuned to her aspirations and the impact of collaboration, Lily parked outside her apartment building, a satisfied smile gracing her lips. She had not just achieved personal milestones, she had cultivated an environment ripe for fresh thoughts and conversations, empowering others to join her on this continuous journey toward fulfillment. In this moment of self-actualization, she felt an urgent pull to share her story. She realized the importance of encouraging others. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your engagement fuels the fire of inspiration for countless others striving to overcome challenges just like Lily.